So I had something really special happen this weekend between me and my wife, and just maybe want to share some backstory and how we got there. And so my wife and I met in high school. I was 17, and when we met, we just hit it off and we became inseparable. Every day we spent all day together, morning to night, and we just had the funnest time together. We loved to laugh. Like, we could just go drive anywhere and just be sitting at red lights, making jokes, laughing about movies we just watched, everything. Literally just head over heels, and I mean, yeah, it was high school, and that carefree lifestyle. You have nothing to worry about. There's no jobs, there's no kids, there's no money issues. You're just a kid, and that's kind of part of what makes this story, interesting. Is not everybody has that experience of knowing their spouse when they were kids before life happened, but we had that experience. And so we went to, we got, and in high school, we didn't drink. Like, we weren't part of the party scene. Just, we just did our own thing, and we had a few friends, and none of them drank. And yeah, so it was all very, very genuine, and not enhanced, or no intoxication to drive the laughter. Went to college. We partied like everyone, not everyone, like a lot of people. College was very acceptable. You did your studies. You went to classes and worked hard, and then you partied a lot during the week. Weekends didn't matter. Again, this is before kids, before, real serious jobs, careers, anything like that. And so, you're still just having a good old time. But, college ended, and, my wife started her career teaching, and I was kind of still floating around a little bit, finding myself. And then we had our first daughter, and, had our second one 2 years later, and then found out that both of them had mitochondrial disease. With a lot of things that affected them, disabilities, special needs. So we worked through all that. Definitely had some hard times. I ended up getting a job in construction. It's kind of what I just ended up falling into. I had to go to work. I had to make things. We had to survive. We had to start making money, and so, as the years passed, my drinking increased little by little, and more and more weekend arguments between me and my wife, always due to alcohol, always due to over drinking. And over the years, just like a little bit of my personality just got shoved a little bit deeper inside of me, and it, our relationship just became business, and functional. It was rooted at making sure our daughters were okay, making sure all their needs were met, dealing with all of their medical issues, and honestly just making sure that they were doing the best they could be doing. And we just kind of turned into business partners instead of, a married, loving couple. And that went on for many years. And, again, as the drinking increased, there was a lot less fun, to the point where the last, year, maybe even year and a half, I basically was lifeless as a person. My personality was gone. I didn't like anything that I used to like. I didn't like the music I used to listen to. I would sit in my work truck parked in some corner, listening to AM radio on low while I had my beer because nothing really mattered anymore. And I would just sit there and think. And, you know, I had no interest in anything anymore. Like I didn't want to watch funny movies. I just didn't want to do anything. I basically just wanted to be alone and drink. That's all I wanted to do. So naturally that put a massive strain on the relationship because whenever we might have found a babysitter or found some time, it was so just, it felt so forced, like it was something we were supposed to do. I didn't necessarily want to do it. All that meant was being regulated in my drinking or being asked not to drink for that night or something like that, so, my relationship with her just became, like she kind of turned into the enemy, someone I was trying to avoid, because she was really putting a cramp, on my drinking style. And it's sad, and the fact that we made it through, that she stuck by, no doubt it had something to do with my daughter's unique case, their unique situation, that it really did need both of us, even though I was, not 100%, present and not doing that, but still I was putting in, the physical work to help. And it was, the best for them that I was there, period, better than me being 100% absent. So my wife stuck it out for a lot of years, not really knowing what she was going to do. I know she definitely thought about leaving, many times. But, we got to a point and, I got to my final end where, it just, the drinking had to stop for me. I made the decision, I did it for myself, and everything from there was going to just be what it was. So of course that, that made my wife very happy that, I had made that decision. But it wasn't an overnight, marriage fixer. Way too many years of damage, way too much history of negativity in our marriage, all stem from the alcohol. You don't erase that kind of pain, suffering, and damage overnight, over a week, over a month, not even over a year. And there's still things that haunt her. She literally has like a PTSD on the matter. And it's probably something that'll be with her for a long time still. But when you decide to get sober, it's this really unique thing, because while you were married, while you were drinking and married, you were extremely selfish because you kept choosing the alcohol over the marriage. And then when you decide to go sober, you really need to focus on yourself and self-care and prioritize not drinking and going to meetings or doing, or exercising or finding a hobby. There's a whole list of things that you got to do in order to sort of find success in sobriety. And it actually means being very selfish all over again, because you can't have the distractions and you can't, just step into this role of, perfect husband, perfect father, because you're going to be inclined to just kind of find yourself slipping because you're not prioritizing your own needs at that time. So, thank God my wife was willing to, give me some me time after giving me 20 years of me time. And she just kept hoping that this was all going to lead to a better place. And so, a year in, I was in a very good place. And we really might have started working on our relationship finally at that point. But we had voluntary surgery for both my daughters on both of their feet. Should have been a routine thing. However, my oldest daughter had major complications. Ended up getting 4 ulcers on her feet. Landed her in the hospital for almost a month. It was very serious. We were very concerned about infection, bone infection. She had to go to wound care. We did wound care for months at home. It was an absolute nightmare. Honestly, it was physically demanding, mentally draining. Um, and it was a massive test for me in my sobriety, because going through all of that, seeing my daughter like that day after day, dealing with it, dealing with the physical demand of it, um, absolutely broke my heart, over and over, just seeing her. She didn't talk for 3 months, nonverbal. Seemed like she was in a coma, like a zombie. Um, and it was probably the hardest time of my life. And not being able to run to a drink to make it go away, was really hard. And honestly, I put on about 45 pounds in that year, because my solution was to grab a pint of Ben and Jerry's and sit in the dark after the day was over and stare and eat ice cream as a coping mechanism. And that was the best way I could handle it, knowing that drinking was the worst way I could handle it. So I am proud of myself. I made it through that year, without drinking, and that's all that mattered. Was getting her right, getting her healthy, and staying sober through all of it. But our marriage suffered another year, because my daughter was a priority and our relationship was not. And I know that my wife understood that. I think she was on the same page, and it was all that mattered, and that's how it was handled. So we got through that year, and things have been stable for about the last 15 months, I would say 18 months maybe. And we've been able to get back in the swing of things. I got back into the fitness. I dropped about 40 of the 50 pounds. I have really gotten into a solid routine, and we've been able to start talking again about our relationship and where we're at in our future. And what I mentioned at the start of the video was, a couple days ago, we found ourselves sitting on the floor, just talking, and we were doing this funny stretch that we had learned, and it was so funny that we started laughing like really hard together, and it was so genuine, and we both looked at each other, and I think we both thought exactly the same thing, and we were both like thinking this was the first time we've laughed together in probably 20 years. And I mean laugh like we love each other, like happiness, true happiness was like coming back for us. And it was like my personality has finally came back to what it was back in high school. Who I really am as a person, is finally surfacing itself again. And I can't explain how good it feels and how excited I am to move forward in our marriage, knowing that I'm the person that she fell in love with again. And that laugh just was incredible. That moment we shared just gave me so much hope, and just made me realize, like, whatever it is I'm doing day in and day out, my habits, I need to keep doing them relentlessly, because if that's what those habits are getting me, then I want more of it. So yeah, I just really wanted to share that, and just to, relate to anybody, any relationships, and any guys that are struggling in their relationship, and even for any wives that are watching, that thinking about giving up on their husbands, sometimes, sometimes it's worth sticking it out. I know it's probably really hard. I can't imagine. Um, but that person that you might not recognize anymore, he might still be in there. Um, and if you can just get him back, you might have a lot of happy years ahead of you. So just want to share that.